Hey there, I'm Anthony Romano, and this video is going to tell you if you should do alternate day fasting, or if there's really any benefit to doing alternate day fasting. There is, but there is perhaps some payoff for it, some trade-off, so I'll explain that in this video. But before we do, if you want to get all the best strategies for weight loss on keto, fasting, any of those protocols, Keto Shred program launch sale is still on. Thank you to everybody for the positivity and the support on the Keto Shred program. There's going to be some updates, audiobook, lots of things dropping on it. So I encourage you to get it now at the lowest possible price on my website, romanoketo.com. And also follow me on Instagram, subscribe to this page, and then watch more of my videos. But let's get into this video. So, I've had a lot of questions about alternate day fasting. I'm just going to try to crank out a lot of them here. Now, number one, are you going to lose muscle? Probably not, no. Unless you're coming from a very high carbohydrate diet where your body is not really used to low carbohydrate periods of time, then your body's not really going to perceive the demand to break down muscle protein as, fuel. Okay? Besides the other videos I've made and the references in the Keto Shred program, your body spares nitrogen, so basically a waste product of protein, when you are in the ketogenic state. This is an adaptation method that your body uses because when you are not eating carbohydrates, your body realizes it has to break down fat as the primary fuel. Your body's not going to break down your primary, most important resource, protein, and if you are telling it that it's only going to run off of fat, protein's a far inferior fuel, okay? Even carbohydrates are technically an inferior fuel to fat because fat is 9 calories a gram. Why would your body break down protein when it has access to this more than doubly effective fuel, right? So it's almost a signal to your body to basically say, hey, save the protein, double down on the fat usage. So it's double whammy effect, but basically there's hard evidence that shows that keto spares nitrogen and it doesn't take as many grams of protein per day to prevent nitrogen losses, okay? And granted, if somebody's new to keto, even then they might have to have 130 or so grams of protein a day to prevent, muscle loss before they get into, this is an estimation, by the way, for most people. They might have to eat that many grams of protein per day to get adapted and then prevent the nitrogen losses. But the thing is, for people to prevent nitrogen losses and protein losses after being adapted, the number drops dramatically low. Like less than 50 grams a day are required to prevent your body from using any protein, muscle protein at all, or any sort of nitrogen losses at all, whether it came from muscle protein or not. So in the fasted state, this is deepened and, basically other mechanisms are upregulated to prevent muscle wasting. So in the context of alternate day fasting, if you are already adapted, you're not going to lose muscle, okay? But if you're not adapted and you're new to this and your body is just completely shocked by the keto state, you definitely risk some muscle loss. So that is definitely a consideration you need to look into. And you want to slowly wean your body into intermittent fasting, slowly wean your body into ketogenic dieting, those types of things to gradually get your body's glucose control and its ability to use fat as fuel improved, okay? And these are also things that I have scientific videos on showing the data, the hard data that you burn more fat, 2.3-fold higher amounts of body fat for the same exercises. Volek and Finney, there's a citation. Now, when we're getting into, the practicality of this, can somebody build muscle on an alternate day fasting routine? There was some work from Brad Pilon, who actually lives relatively close to me, and I respect his work a lot. Actually, he was one of the first people who I actually looked into a lot of this fasting stuff, because my mom had his book, and when I was like 14. So, Brad Pilon had a strategy called lean gains, where there basically be a fasting period, and some people had turned that into intermittent fasting, and then some people had, and feasting, right? And then some people had turned it into an alternate day fast, where basically on the day where you're fasting, you're just shredding body fat, and then on the day where you're eating, you're building muscle, training hard, etc. So can you do it? Yes, you can. Is it very arduous and not as practical for some people? I would say yes. Granted, maybe Brad Pilon would disagree with me, but I don't think that's his primary strategy for getting the body he has. But anyways, and the, client experience he has. But either way, the guy knows his stuff. And I've had people from my client work who have used those protocols. Is it my first choice? No. My first choice for somebody building muscle and burning fat at the same time is going to be either some sort of intermittent fasting routine, a keto bulk routine where basically you're eating ketogenic and then slamming protein, or a carb backloading routine, where basically you are eating keto in the morning or fasting, and then slamming carbohydrates post-workout only. You can watch my videos on those things to learn more about them, but those are my preferred methods of actually doing some sort of recomp / burn fat, build muscle simultaneously plan, because they are possible. And one thing I want you to know here too is, body composition is not entirely dictated by calorie intake. Okay, I have a full page on this in the Keto Shred program, but at the same time, you have to realize when we are talking about total daily calorie intake, we're not paying attention to what your body's doing at any one given time. We're just looking at the total daily outcome, right? The net gain or net loss. Are you using more fuel or gaining more fuel used by the end of the day, right? Now, that's why I always say there's a quantitative side and a qualitative side of fitness and metabolic health and all those things. But where I'm going with this is, if somebody does a carb backloading routine, for example, eating ketogenic in the morning, right, they're already adapted, and then they slam a bunch of carbohydrates and protein post-workout, they're going to maximize the insulin effect, and then basically, for the first part of the day, their body was in a generally catabolic state. Now, catabolic does not mean muscle breakdown. It simply means breaking things down. Fat burning is a catabolic state. If you're trying to do a fat loss cut, you are trying to be catabolic, by the way. So your body is basically in a catabolic breaking down state for the first half of the day, and then post-workout, you're going to be in an anabolic state where you're basically consuming the food and then digesting it and using it, allocating the resources properly. So, rather than looking at the total daily net outcome, we're looking at what your body's doing at certain given moments, okay? Instead of looking at the total quantity, we're looking at the qualities and the actions your body is performing at certain given moments of the day. See how there's two sides? You can't have more than one side. You can't have only one side of a coin. You have day, night, summer, winter. Everything is dualistic in that way. And of course, you can take the holistic approach and look at everything in total, both sides of the coin, merge them together. But that's topics for other videos, because eventually down the line, if you do calories still work, okay? Total daily intake still works, but the point is you can take qualitative approaches to individually isolate hormonal effects at certain given times of the day. And granted, eventually you might want to merge the two and get some calorie restriction in there or some calorie surpluses in there, right? Same way for the other, side of the coin. But the point is, if you want to approach both goals, rather than looking at, I'm bulking or cutting, you can look at your day as in, I'm bulking for this half of the day and then cutting, right, for the first half of the day, right? Or you can do it the alternate day fasting thing, where basically Tuesday you're bulking, and then Wednesday you're cutting because you're doing an alternate day fast, right? So again, we're not looking at the total, bird's eye view of what your caloric intake is. We're looking at what your body's doing at specific moments. So that is ultimately the benefit of alternate day fasting. And, if you find it very practical to do an alternate day fast, then go for it. You still can gain the benefit, and I encourage you to look into the work of Brad Pilon, amongst other people, of course. But Brad Pilon is just one name that comes to mind, who I know is a good resource and have respect for. Now, on that note, if you're somebody who is thinking that alternate day fasting is the only way to go, I encourage you to look into the other methods I'd spoken about. Keto bulking, which I speak about quite a bit on my page. Carb backloading, there's great work from John Kiefer on that. And also I have some videos explaining some of the protocols that are similar and my kind of twists on them. Primarily the addition of getting fully keto adapted first. And also intermittent fasting. Lots of great resources on intermittent fasting and using it in, again, a sort of lean gains protocol comparable to Brad Pilon, where, you have this sort of catabolic part of the day, right, where you're fasting intermittently and you're not really risking any muscle protein breakdown, even if you're not keto adapted, because for intermittent fasting, it's not a large period of time. And then you can slam the protein, the carbohydrate, get a little bit of an insulin kick to basically, kickstart some of the anabolic processes. But granted, more insulin is not always better. And for fat loss, less insulin is not always better. It's just that it's generally a signaler in terms of its presence or absence. So I'm going to cut this video off here. Hopefully this gave you some great insight onto alternate day fasting. And if there's any other questions on alternate day fasting, hit me up. And a little side note too, because I've had some women asking about alternate day fasting. And the only thing in this video that applies specifically to women is what I'm about to say right now, which is if you are a woman who's trying to get into alternate day fasting, then basically, be mindful that you are adapted to this, because women's hormones are far more sensitive when it comes to reproductive hormones. They're far more sensitive to variances in food availability and energy resource availability than men's are, okay? So if you're a woman, and you're trying to do alternate day fasting, be careful. to make sure you're adapted first, and this is going to be something that's generally easy for your body to wean into, okay? Because if you're somebody who's a woman and trying to get into this, right off the bat, you may experience some problems, because you have to remember, your body's trying to keep you alive more than it's trying to keep you, sexually reproductive, okay? Because you staying alive, even if you can't have kids right now, or if your body shuts off some, the menstrual cycle for a bit, right? Or for men, if it downregulates your testosterone, if somebody's new to this and they jump right in, the point is your body's going to say, let's just keep him alive and downregulate hormone production, and then eventually it will even back out when food's more available. So bottom line, don't dive into this, but men and women can definitely both do this. Just make sure you do the appropriate precautions first, and, from there, do the appropriate research and watch some more of my videos. But hit me up as well if you want to get a consultation done on my website, romanoketo.com, and get the Keto Shred program. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Anthony Romano, peace.